Talk Radio, the new Freedom 96.9. The best way to stay up to date on the issues that impact your life is to listen to the new Freedom 96.9 at freedom969.com. Mornings at noon and on the way home from work. Oklahoma's Talk Radio. Freedom
Weather.
Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. Today, expect a severe thunderstorm to develop late this afternoon amidst mostly cloudy skies. These storms have the potential to bring flash flooding, large hail, damaging winds, and even a tornado. The temperature will reach a high of 80 degrees. Tonight, anticipate a couple of heavy evening thunderstorms with partly cloudy conditions otherwise. These thunderstorms could bring hail and damaging winds. The low will drop to 64 degrees. Tomorrow will be very warm with variable cloudiness, culminating in a strong thunderstorm at night. The high temperature will reach 85 degrees. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station. The new Freedom 96.9, Oklahoma's Talk Radio.
Broadcasting live from the command center of Freedom 96.9 in Oklahoma City, it's McRoof Fortifies, Oklahoma. Saving lives, protecting property, fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with Hague Certified Master Level Damage Inspector, Oklahoma Licensed Public Adjuster, Fortified Evaluator, and IBHS Fortified Roofing Contractor, Scott McCullum.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Young Scotty McCullum, not here today, has the day off. In his place, Insurance Commissioner candidate Chris Meredith is sitting in.
Good morning, everybody.
Retro Radio Randy is also off today, so Freedom 96.9's Big JD is running the show. We're not going to let him talk either. So you can hear him, however.
Does he whine like Randy does, though? Oh, there you go. There we go. Okay, I feel at home now. I think I'm in the right place.
But you can hear his voice when you call 405-608-4377. We're live streaming today on the YouTube channel, the McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma YouTube channel, and we're streaming the audio on freedom969.com. We'll start, as usual, with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week. The phone number, again, to answer the trivia question or to just ask a question, 405-608-4377. We may or may not hear Scotty's view from the rooftop today. It depends on if he climbs down from the roof to phone in. And we will have some after the storm tips brought to you by Roof RX, and we'll wrap up with Dad's wisdom. And coming back from breaks, some official, obscure, historical trivia. Hey guys, I was volunteering at the Strawberries Newport booth at the Arts Festival on Thursday to benefit the Carpenter Square Theater. And when a customer came up and ordered, and she handed the cashier a note to give to me, and sure enough, it read, "Remember to say that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing."
Wow.
How she knew I was
You can't go anywhere, can you?
I'm not safe anywhere.
You must feel like a real celebrity.
I feel like a stalking victim.
Oh, there you go.
There
you go. All right.
All right, so let's get our trivia question going, shall we?
All right, let's get it going. So, obviously, we tie these things into current events. An EF4 tornado is characterized by significant destruction. Which of the following is not a damage indicator for an EF4 tornado? A, severe damage to well-constructed homes. Roofs may be completely removed and walls can be knocked down. B, the roofs of industrial buildings may be severely damaged or collapsed, leading to structural failures. C, significant uprooting or debarking of large trees that are often snapped in half. Or D, a concrete slab is swept clean of debris.
If you think you know the answer to that, give us a call, 405-608-4377. The winner will get their choice of 2 free books, either Unreasonable Hospitality or Raving Fans, or 2 free tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater production the rest of this season. And I will tell you that this is the final weekend for the current show, Violet Sharp. It deals with a Lindbergh baby kidnapping from 1932. It is a drama. It's tragic drama. But then we have 2 dark comedies coming up. Looped, about Tallulah Bankhead, a drunk Tallulah Bankhead, trying to record one line of dialogue for a movie. It's looping, adding the voice again. And then the last show of the season, Sordid Lives by Del Shores. And it's a dark comedy about white trash in Texas.
Wow.
So our trivia question one more time. Which of these damage indicators are not damage indicators? Which of these indicators are not to be used when choosing?
Which of these are not indicative of an EF4 tornado?
That's what I was looking for. A, severe damage to well-constructed homes where roofs may be completely removed and walls can be knocked down. B, the roofs of industrial buildings may be severely damaged or collapsed, leading to structural failures. C, significant uprooting or debarking of large trees that are often snapped in half. Or D, a concrete slab that is swept clean of debris. 405-608-4377. All right, word of the week.
Well, again, tie us together topically. Our word for today is forewarned. Forewarned means being informed in advance about something, particularly a potential danger or pending event. In relation to severe storms, being forewarned can involve receiving alerts or warnings from meteorological services about impacting storms, allowing individuals to prepare for possible hazards such as strong winds, heavy rain, flooding, tornadoes, etc. For instance, if a weather service forewarns people about an approaching severe storm, residents can take necessary precautions like securing property, planning evacuation routes, making sure the storm shelter is ready and available for them to ensure their safety.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Wonder why we had those things in here today for the word of the week and the trivia.
Well, they're just such a tragic loss of property up in the Enid area, but thankfully no lives were lost. That is a miracle, thanks to I think largely the TV.
The forewarning.
Yeah, by all of them, not just one.
That
but
is
by
that
all of them.
is exactly right. And Chris and I were talking on the elevator on the way up here. I think in a lot of ways we take a lot of what our meteorologists, our teams, the people in Norman at the National Weather Center, the storm chasers who are out there literally risking life and limb to be in front of these things. I think we take a lot of that for granted.
Yeah.
And we have a degree, I believe, of forewarning here that is above and beyond what people in other parts of the country have.
Sure.
And I just, hats off to all of those folks.
Right.
I literally have sat here twice in the last week, watched a storm chaser sitting there looking at a dust cloud in the middle of a wheat field turn into a massive funnel right before their eyes.
Wow.
And it is just, it has been, it's been eye-opening for me. It really has. But to have the significant event in Enid that we had this week with no loss of life, that is a tribute to all of those people's hard work and what they put their hearts and souls into to save lives.
And let's give those residents up there some due as well, because they heeded the advice.
Well, absolutely, and depending on which vignette, which story you listen to of the little personal tales, there are a couple of guys that owe it to their better halves, their brides, who insisted, no, you're not going to stand here and watch this come through. You're getting your butt in the storm shelter, you know, and literally telling the stories that, my wife is the reason I'm still alive today.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Anyway. Absolutely.
So, Chris, I'm glad you're here today, because one of the things I heard this morning was an interview with a guy who said insurance company has already denied his claim because it was an act of God. Whoa. lost everything. And the insurance company says, sorry, bud, act of God, you're on your own.
I don't know the details on that, but that sounds very
That's about all I know, too.
I mean, that's I've never heard of such a thing like that.
Yeah.
This is, to me, this is why we exist. This is why
the insurance commission, you mean?
Well, the insurance industry.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm coming from the industry, and I've been on the ground in these things, in Moore, in Joplin, in all these places, in hurricanes, and I've worked these storms. And when people need us is right now, when they've lost everything, when people come out and all they have is a wet blanket around them, and their kids have lost their toys and they're huddling in the corner, they don't even have anything.
Right.
And then the insurance company, we show up to restore hope and give them a kind of a path forward in the future. Get them back into housing. I mean, get them food, get them shelter right off the bat. I mean, this is what we're supposed to do. This is why I am in this industry. And to hear something like that is very discerning, and that's something that's just not acceptable.
Well, you know, Rick, and I'm not on the ground up there. I'm not in Enid. It'd be in the way if I was. I would tell you that my suspicion would be that for every one of those people that is telling a story like you heard this morning, there are people that will tell you the story that their insurance company has already put a check in their hands for them to be able to take care of their immediate needs in terms of temporary living expenses and all of those kinds of things, and to begin doing some of their cleanup and things like that around their property. I think you would get many, many more people that would say, our insurance company had a check in our hands within 24 hours.
I would hope so.
My gosh, I would not believe that would not be the case.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, I mean, I remember the Moore tornado, and we were there, and we pulled in the next day right afterwards, and we had 95% of our coverage A paid.
Wow.
In 6 days.
Wow.
6 days. And because we mobilized our force, we got out there, we found our customers in the rubble, the homes. We spotted them. We're able to say, that's a total, that's a total, that's a total. We just, veered on that and we issued the payments. I mean, it was that quick. I mean, we were moving, and that's what we're supposed to do.
We got to go to break.
Okay.
We'll come back to this.
Sure.
I want to remind everybody the trivia question is still hanging out there. An EF4 tornado characterized by significant destruction. Which of these is not an indicator of an EF4 tornado? Is it A, severe damage to well-constructed homes where roofs may be completely removed, walls can be knocked down? B, the roofs of industrial buildings may be severely damaged or collapsed, leading to structural failure? C, significant uprooting or debarking of large trees that are often snapped in half? Or D, a concrete slab that is wiped clean of debris? The number 405-608 4377. We'll be back after this.
Every property owner knows the pain of rising insurance costs, higher premiums, higher deductibles, and more exclusions than ever before. You may have even received a non-renewal notice or a letter stating your roof no longer meets our underwriting requirements and your policy will be canceled in 30 days. You don't know the condition of your roof, you're not a roofer, but neither does the underwriter, and they're making decisions that affect your coverage. RoofRx brings clarity to where uncertainty once lived. We're not roofers looking for work. We're certified inspectors dedicated to truth and transparency. We combine state-of-the-art imaging with generations of roofing expertise to reveal the true condition of your roof and maximize its remaining life. We turn complex data into a clear prescription: what can be maintained, what needs repaired, and what needs replaced. We perform and document that work for you and your insurance carrier and provide the peace of mind of lifetime workmanship warranties and money-back guarantees. It's not about replacing roofs. It's about helping you understand the true condition of your roof, mitigate your risk, and protect your insurability. RoofRx, the prescription for your ailing roof.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for this live program on Saturday morning on Freedom 96.9. Obscure historical trivia. On this date in 1910, the first automobile license plate was issued in New York City. On this date in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson was persuaded by Argentina, Brazil, and Chile to accept mediation in the conflict we were having with Mexico. On this date in 1952, the American Bowling Congress approved the use of an automatic pin setter, putting lots and lots of teenage boys out of work.
Yes.
I remember those hand-spotted.
Hey, I grew up in New Mexico on top of a mountain, little podunk town with a 4-lane handset.
I remember. I never set them, but I did go back inside
behind there
and see them. Oh, it was a job I lusted after. Okay, we're talking with Insurance Commissioner candidate Chris Meredith. He's in studio with us live this morning. Scott McCullum is here. Big JD is running the show. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. Chris, what's going on with your campaign?
Well, we're traveling all over the state. We continue to hear the same things. You know, people are fed up with the high rates, and they feel confusion when they file claims. And, you know, that's why I'm running. That's the whole point. And I continue to push the idea that I am the only one in this race that has run a claims operation. And what we're dealing with right now is, a prime example of why it's important to have experience. And these disasters that come, and, my first thing is my thoughts and prayers are with the people of Enid, because I have not gone through it personally, but I've been on the ground and I've been with those families when they've lost everything. I mean, I specifically always think about Moore and Joplin and seeing how that happens and what happens afterwards. And
let me just say, that was quite a visual you mentioned earlier with the someone wrapped in a wet blanket, hovering in the corner with their kids who now have no toys. I mean, that's a powerful vision.
Yeah, because I remember, specifically, we set up camp, the whole industry, along with other, Red Cross and those types of things at a church.
Team Rubicon and
and everybody, the consumers are walking in and they are just they look like zombies,
right?
Because they've been through a traumatic event.
Yeah,
and and I remember that specifically. These people, they were under our tent. We took them into the catastrophe bus and got them cleaned up a little bit and got them food and things like that. And the kids are crying for their toys or whatever. And I saw it firsthand. And I'm trying to. And we gave them new teddy bears and stuff. I mean, these things matter. But once you get through that and you're safe, and you start documenting damage, and it's time to start thinking about, as a leader in the industry, the commissioner, the city leaders, we need to start thinking about not just rebuilding, but rebuilding stronger to withstand it. You're not going to F4s. There's not much you can do except stay safe.
Right.
But there's plenty of buildings that were damaged that didn't necessarily need to be if they were built to a higher standard, especially roofing. Roofing is obviously at the core of what we talk about, and that's why I push Fortified so hard. You're not a direct hit of an F4, not going to get much out of that. But outside of that, that the second, third tier of that path, those are the homes we're trying to save.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really, Chris and I are in lockstep in terms of the response to severe convective storms is not after the storm. The response to severe convective storms has to be before the storm. It has to be in the way that we build structures, the way that we harden the environment in which we live and work and play, the degree to which we rebuild better when we have those opportunities from a more minor event that occurs. There, we take the opportunity to make sure that we're building back better. And that's what Chris is about. That's getting from the attitude of being reactive to being proactive. With the event, as he said, an EF4, an EF5, you're not going to do anything other than hopefully survive that event and be able to rebuild.
Right.
The reality is that in the Moore, Oklahoma EF5 tornado path, that was a very small area that was actually EF5. And we know where that was, by the school, through the heart of Moore. We understand that. But outside of that, you have EF3 and EF2 and EF1 and EF0. And if you take and you overlaid what the city of Moore is trying to do now, and thank God the city of Moore is being as proactive as they are being in pushing these things into their ordinances, because they cannot wait for the code cycle to catch up and get all these best practices into the code cycle. It just takes too long. There's too much resistance to it. But by ordinance, they're able to push a lot of the fortified elements, IBHS fortified elements, into the way they have rebuilt more. Talking about the gold and silver new home construction, the rebuilds, talking about implementing as much of fortified high wind and hail designated roofing into their city ordinances as they possibly can. If you took what the city of Moore is doing now and went back to that storm event outside of the EF4 and 5 area, most of the rest of that damage would have been reduced significantly. In some cases, would have been reduced totally. If you're in the EF0, EF1, and EF2 ranges, you would have had probably minor roof, siding, maybe window damage in those zones, and it would only been when you got above 135 miles an hour into EF3, up into EF4 at 166 to 203 miles an hour, and 5, that you would have had the massive destruction that you have now. Certainly limits the rebuild, cuts down the time, the number of people that are displaced, certainly probably loss of life to some degree as well. So there's so much that plays into building better. Chris, that is a milestone in your platform for insurance commissioner, right?
Absolutely. It's absolutely key. And what you said is right. We have to do it before the storm happens. You don't step on a football field the day of the game and start practicing. You have to be practicing up through into the start of the season. And, that's why this is so important to have someone with experience on these operations and disasters in the position, because this is no time for learning on the job. I say this everywhere I go. I tell, we have people in the race that, they have limited experience in actual on the ground operations. And this is super important. This is not a job for politics and talking and debate. This is a job that, you're running a department full of 100 people. And the way I see it, you're in charge of the system. And so, coming in with that mindset of being prepared and getting, working with the cities and the state to be prepared for storms just like this, not only after, but before, and so we're ready to go, because we know they're coming. They've been coming for 100 years.
Yeah.
So it just makes common sense, like I see on the wall. Stand up for common sense. Well, we know hail and tornadoes are in Oklahoma. It's just a fact.
Right.
So common sense says we better build things that can stand up to these storms.
Right.
And that is exactly my attitude going.
So we're going to talk a little bit more after the break about going from reactive to proactive. I want to tell a little story from our summit down in San Antonio a week or so ago. But the reality of it is that there are 2 races on the ballot this year that people in Oklahoma, I believe, should be paying a lot of attention to. Those 2 races are the insurance commissioner's race and the attorney general's race, because those 2 positions will have a lot to do with shaping the future of insurance in the state of Oklahoma. If you don't want to pay any attention to it, stick your head in the sand, let somebody else determine what your future path is going to be, go right ahead. But that's not the attitude that I would adopt about the attorney general's race and the insurance commissioner's race. Get involved and get active.
So you mentioned the break. It is coming up in just a minute. So let me reiterate the trivia question. Which of the following are not damage indicators associated with an EF4 tornado? A, severe damage to well-constructed homes. That includes roofs that may be completely removed and walls knocked down. B, the roofs of industrial buildings that may be severely damaged or collapsed, leading to structural failures. C, significant uprooting or debarking of large trees that are often snapped in half. Or D, a concrete slab that is swept clean of debris. If you think you know the answer, or if you just want to talk to Chris Meredith, candidate for insurance commissioner, give us a call, 405.
Ask him a hard question.
405-608-4377. You're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
To hear the latest news and trending stories that impact your life, set a button to the new Freedom 96.9 and listen online at freedom969.com. Oklahoma's talk radio. Freedom
Weather. Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. Today, expect a severe thunderstorm to develop late this afternoon amidst mostly cloudy skies. These storms have the potential to bring flash flooding, large hail, damaging winds, and even a tornado. The temperature will reach a high of 80 degrees. Tonight, anticipate a couple of heavy evening thunderstorms with partly cloudy conditions otherwise. These thunderstorms could bring hail and damaging winds. The low will drop to 64 degrees. Tomorrow will be very warm with variable cloudiness, culminating in a strong thunderstorm at night. The high temperature will reach 85 degrees. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station. The new Freedom 96.9, Oklahoma's talk radio.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for the second half of this morning's live call-in show on Freedom 96.9. Obscure historical trivia for April 25th, 2026. On this date in 1954, Bell Labs announced the first solar battery made from silicon with a whopping 6% efficiency. And then on this date in 1960, the first submerged circumnavigation of the planet was completed by the USS submarine Triton in 60 days and 21 hours.
Wow.
That's pretty obscure.
Wow.
Historical trivia.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I like that 6% efficiency. I think I operate above that level.
Yeah, that's about where I am today.
So we were talking about proactive and reactive,
yes,
Chris, and we were talking about how short people's memories are. And we talked about that relative to some of these severe storm events and things. You know, right now we've got the city of Moore and the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, are really pushing things, okay, to try to get building better resiliency into their building codes by ordinance beyond what Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission would suggest, all right? That's great. City of Joplin, Missouri, city of Moore, Oklahoma are the only two inland cities that have a wind code, all right? So we just lose sight of these horrible events so quickly.
Yep, we do. And again, we're going to continue to get reminders, unfortunately. Sometimes they're spread out. Thankfully, they're spread apart. But it takes leadership and focus to push these things out and get everyone on board with preparing before these events. I mean, you just listed a bunch of cities. They all went through events. They had to be, hit, unfortunately, for them to implement and begin working on these things. And it doesn't need to be that way. We've got enough data and experience behind us to know what we need to do. It's going to take someone to pick up the mantle and charge the hill and get it done.
Well, and there are people, in the space who are doubters about our ability to build better resiliency and what the real implications and effects of that will be. We have science out of the Institute for Business and Home Safety, out of the University of Alabama, around the Fortified program and the results of that program in the hurricane zone.
That's right. That's right.
And the science doesn't lie.
No, we've got tremendous studies, that show the reduction in damage and the reduction of frequency and severity of storms if you fortify and use the fortified standards. And that's why I keep hitting on it so hard. It's not something I made up. It's not just some program. It's extensively studied over 10 years. I mean, it's been going on, and we need to, in Oklahoma, step up to the plate.
Yeah.
And just go after this.
And it's not just roofs. It's not just high wind and hail designated roofs. It's our gold and silver new construction. We need to be talking about wildfire prepared programs that IBHS has out there. We deal with wildfires in Oklahoma every spring, just like we deal with tornadoes and hail every spring. There's no conversations around wildfire in Oklahoma that I'm aware of.
I'm very glad you brought that up because it is an emerging issue. You're seeing it in California, the debate after those wildfires on changing and having mitigation standards in California, which is, you wouldn't think is you're surprised by it. But there's so much data and science out there that shows that things can be improved, and we need to have that here in Oklahoma as well for mitigation on wildfires because we're getting bigger and bigger data from various sources that are saying the risk is rising for wildfires in Oklahoma, and that's another reason you're seeing insurance companies pull back on putting capital here because we're totally unprepared for wildfires.
Well, and if you look at what's going on in California and in the West, you end up in situations where people have that ever-increasing donut hole. They have that ever-increasing space where they cannot buy insurance. In other words, because of the wildfire risk, maybe you've got a $2 million home, but you can only buy $1 million worth of insurance. So that is a donut hole that you have to fill some other way. Yep. And if we don't do something, particularly in Oklahoma, if we don't do something about high wind and hail and low wind tornado in terms of resiliency, I could see a future where we start to have donut holes for those things, where you have roof exclusions, where you have total hail exclusions on roofs, things like that, because the insurance carriers know that there are products and technologies and systems out there that can avoid those kinds of losses for the carriers. If you as a consumer are not investing in those, building better and fortifying, so to speak, then they're going to choose not to insure you.
That's right. And, that's the crisis that I'm looking at because it's already happening. It's already happening. Insurance companies are already pulling capital. I mean, we've seen carriers drop how many people they're insuring, how many agents are out there, and those types of things because the risk is increasing so much. And they can only increase, the prices are outrageous, but they can only increase that so much. And they can only put the deductible increases so much. And, this is exactly why I'm running because I've seen the solutions. I've been yelling from the mountaintop at all these different capitals across the country to politicians, and they don't want to listen. All they want to do is put out some type of headline-grabbing, law where they punish insurance companies. And you know what? Insurance companies don't have to do business in Oklahoma. And if we continue down this path, they won't. And then good luck finding any insurance at all.
Yeah, and I've said this: if an insurance company pays their money. Obviously, you've paid your premiums in, but they pay their money to replace your roof for you with a storm damage claim, and you choose not to build back better, then I believe that insurance carrier has every right to say to you that we no longer want to insure you because you did not choose to mitigate risk for yourself in the process of rebuilding that roof.
Absolutely. I mean, insurance companies are the leaders in risk management. Probably should listen to that expertise. Now, at the same time, I want to make sure that that if you're doing business in Oklahoma as an insurance company, you better be doing it the right way.
Right.
Kind of like what you were talking about
Right.
earlier.
Right.
That's not. I don't want you here if you're going to treat people like that anyway. But
Right.
But it's a systemic issue, and that's why I always talk about fixing the whole system. It's not about blaming one side. It's about what can each segment of the system do better. And what you just described is a part of the consumer side of it. But they got to know. They got to know what to do, because right now they don't. I talk to people all over the state, and they have no idea about the Fortified program. They have never heard of these grant programs, and it's been out there for over a year, and it just surprises me. That includes roofers and insurance agents and the regular consumers, and they've never heard of any of it.
Well, there's a lot of having your head stuck in the sand. There's a lot of people that have their own dog in the fight, so to speak, and that are, looking after their own pocketbook. We get a lot of resistance from different places about the things that we need to do to harden our infrastructure to build better. We get resistance from the development and the building communities. We get resistance from the roofing communities. Roofers will go, why should I build a roof that I'm never going to get to replace again? Where I go, that's my goal. I would love to build a roof that I would never have to replace again. I would feel like that I had created a win for my client, and that's what I'm here for, okay? Saving lives, protecting property, and mitigating risks, that's the name of the game, and we all have to do it together. If we don't, it's going to be a real mess. So the reinsurers are putting a lot of pressure on carriers right now to solve this, particularly the high wind and hail roof piece of this equation. Because when you look at all the billion-dollar storms and you look at where the dollars are, everybody thinks tornado, hurricane, wildfire, flood. A lot of the dollars are simply wind and hail roofs that are in those billion-dollar convective storm events. 50 to 60% of the dollars are simply that roofing piece of the equation. And reinsurers are demanding of their carriers do something about roof risk.
Hey, we have our good friend Benny on the line. Hey, Benny, are you calling for the trivia question?
No, he's calling to grill Chris.
All right, so let me restate the trivia question for those who may have just tuned in. Which of the following is not a damage indicator for an EF4 tornado? A, severe damage to well-constructed homes that includes roofs that may be completely removed and walls knocked down. B, the roofs of industrial buildings that may be severely damaged or collapsed, leading to structural failures. C, significant uprooting or debarking of large trees that are often snapped in half. Or D, a concrete slab that is swept clean of debris. Well, Benny.
Boo. Boo. Batting average is going down, Benny.
It's an EF. It's an EF4, not an EF2. So even a well-constructed home doesn't stand its chance against an EF4.
Oh yeah. All right, man. Oh, okay, good. Good.
Oh, thank you, Benny.
All right, Benny. So we're going to. All right, Benny. I appreciate you, buddy. Stay safe. All right,
Thanks a lot, Benny.
So Benny just got his Roof RX. Oh, you got to take a break?
It's time for a break, so
All
you
right.
can talk about that when we come back. So I want to remind everybody that you're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. Insurance Commissioner candidate Chris Meredith is live in studio with us today, talking with Scott McCullum. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. Big JD is running the show today. Our caller number 405-608-4377. Last call for your call. We'll be right back. Homer Stacy was a wholesome, good American kid from Texas. At the age of 18, he enlisted in the United States Army Horse Cavalry and was stationed at Fort Bliss. Homer was fascinated with aircraft, so he went to flight school and became an Army Air Corps pilot. Homer Stacy flew a Convair B-24 Liberator, the Yankee Doodle Dandy, on November 11, 1943, when his crew, along with 31 other bombers, destroyed a ball-bearing plant in occupied France. On a return trip, a mechanical failure caused the Yankee Doodle Dandy to drop out of formation, leaving it vulnerable, and shortly thereafter, 7 German Me-109s shot down the plane near Andano, Italy. 4 crew members were killed on board, the others parachuted. 1 was captured and taken prisoner. Homer was among the remaining 5 who made it to Switzerland and returned to duty. Homer Stacy survived World War II, the Korean War, and retired after 23 years of service with many awards and commendations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart, and multiple air medals. Homer Stacy McCullum, Scott McCullum's dad. Scott McCullum is McRoof. McRoof.us is owned and operated by the McCullum family, an honorable, trustworthy red, white, and blue family. If you want to fortify your property, call McRoof.us at 405-877-4663. Ask for your complimentary roof inspection performed by a credentialed Hague residential inspector. McRoof.us, saving lives and protecting property by fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for the final segment of this morning's live call-in show on Freedom 96.9. On this date, in 1978, the Supreme Court ruled that pension plans can't require women to pay more. And then on this date in 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was placed into orbit by the Space Shuttle Discovery. Wow. Okay, trivia question. The last time we're going to give this out, and if we don't get a call in the next couple of minutes, then Scott's going to spill the beans. Which of the following is not a damage indicator for an EF4 tornado? We know it's not severe damage to well-constructed homes. Is it B, the roofs of industrial buildings may be severely damaged or collapsed, leading to structural failures? C, significant uprooting or debarking of large trees that are often snapped in half? Or D, a concrete slab swept clean of debris? 405-608-4377.
So I want to talk just a little bit, illustrate that we talked about attitudes. We talked about how the messaging is not consistent. We don't keep these events top of mind. Thankful for the city of Moore, thankful for Shawnee, Oklahoma, and some of the other cities that are trying to push things a little bit. I was down in San Antonio at the South Central Climate Resilience Forum. That is Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas are the states in that zone. We were talking about severe convective storms. I had a group of people in the audience for a panel we presented. And I asked how many of those folks had actually had an insurance claim as a result of a severe convective storm, wind, hail, something like that. And almost every hand in the room went up. And I said, okay, great. So we got to talking. We were talking about fortified. We were talking about building better. We were talking about resilience. And then I went back and I said, now, all you people that had your hand up about an insurance claim as a result of a severe convective storm, how many of you knowingly, intentionally built back better? and not a single hand in the room went up. These are people who are scientists and who are government officials working for the state and for municipalities and cities and universities and all that kind of thing. And not one of them knowingly, intentionally hardened the environment in which they and their families live after a severe convective event. How far do we have to go, Chris, to get that messaging to the consumers in a way that they will understand it's not someone just trying to line their pocket at your expense? They're trying to save lives and protect property.
Takes leadership. That's the bottom line. Someone has to take ownership of this issue and push it out. And, what I always think about is, the insurance industry itself needs to be pushing this because it's going to benefit them just as much as it's going to benefit consumers. And, enough with the geckos.
And Pat Mahomes.
It's great. It's fun. But guess what?
Start telling people something that'll save their lives.
We can be more – a lot of times movies – I've talked to a movie director about this. Maybe the next Twister film needs to feature a fortified home. Those types of things. Yeah. We can get more creative with our commercials and things, and it's going to take us asking them to do it. I know the Louisiana commissioner has asked this very thing of the industry, is to start promoting things like this that actually add value and substance to people's lives versus just throwing out, a CGI figure or something. But use the gecko. Use the gecko to promote this. I mean, let's switch.
Use Pat Mahomes to promote it, but promote the things that will actually mitigate risk.
Let's just stop goofing off like a clown, and let's get serious about the messaging.
Huh. So question for you, why does OID, I've asked this question before, why don't we ever see any messaging out of the state of Oklahoma? I don't ever see any messaging about resilience. I don't ever see any messaging about things that people can actually do to protect themselves and to mitigate risk.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so limited, but that's one of the things I would do immediately. I mean, let's talk about right now. I mean, I'd have our fraud team and our consumer division assistants out positioned in Enid, to help people. And hey, when it's time to rebuild, think about this. We have this program that you should think about. Make sure they know about it, so when they do come to rebuild, that's on their mind. And getting more. We've just got to take a very proactive approach to telling people about it.
There ought to be somebody up there that every one of those people that's going to rebuild their home is already enrolled in that grant program for the roofing portion of that. Absolutely. I mean, obviously we want to let them recover and get their feet under them and make sure that's happening. Sure.
But once we need to be proactive and target these people and let them know that it's out there.
So Biddy called. Biddy talked about he had just gotten his Roof RX.
Oh, yeah.
Truth on the Roof document underway, got his inspection done.
Okay.
So Chris's daughter is actually interviewing with Scotty to be part of the Roof RX annotations team.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I've never seen her so excited. And when I first heard about it, I was like, wait a minute, this seems perfect. My daughter is an artist.
Oh.
She's a fine arts major, not dance and stuff, but like antique, paintings and stuff, and she does all this in photographs. And I thought, well, the job is studying in kind of describing images and what you're seeing. And I was like, this might be good for her to be able to do that. And she's an introvert, so she likes to kind of just work on her own. And I was like, I bet you would really be good at this. And she started going down that path and has actually really liking it.
Good.
So it's interesting. Opportunity for young folks out there.
Yeah, I would say to parents out there listening that, if you've got kids that live on that laptop or they live on that iPad or whatever it is, they're really, maybe they're into gaming, maybe they're into different, graphics, different things that they do. That's a perfect world for us to draw people from. And these are positions that they can work from anywhere. safely and be able to make pretty decent money doing it and learn a skill at the same time they're going to school or finishing up whatever it is that they're doing in life. So anyway.
All right. So, Scott, you want to give us the answer to the trivia question?
Well, I don't want to. I'm kind of disappointed, but I'm
well,
going
we had
to.
a caller on the line, but you guys are too long-winded, and he hung up.
I understand that. So the answer is D, a concrete slab swept clean of debris. That would be a damage indicator for EF5 tornado.
Oh,
now,
EF5.
I'll tell you that if you watch the TV, which most of us have in the last day and a half, in Enid, you obviously saw the houses with walls partially down and roofs off. You saw the commercial building that had collapsed, structural failure. You saw the trees snapped in half. You saw the responder that was up in the tree hanging the United States flag from the tree, that kind of thing. But you probably did not see, generally speaking, there could have been an exception, but generally speaking, there was not widespread slab swept clean.
Okay. All right.
And I was going to say on that one, I thought it was a trick question because I've been to those and there is no slabs clean because it's usually like the house four houses over that's on top of the other slab. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it's
Yeah.
right. I was like, the clean sweep comes after.
Yeah.
When we clean up.
Well, and we're talking about replacing, my modified SBS Flex Technology roofs, and that I had never replaced one for hail, but the one that I have replaced was a tornado there at 89th and Sooner, where the neighbor's house blew over and all the debris impacted his roof and went through the decking and the shingles and everything else. So anyway, yeah, that debris is used, and that's where most of the fatalities come from. People may not know this. Most of the fatalities are blunt force trauma, typically to the head. It's where something
Flying debris.
Flying debris, yes.
I have to remind everybody that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing. Hey, we have time to get the after the storm tip squeezed in before the end of the show.
Well, the after the storm tip, whether that's already after the storm or after tonight or after tomorrow night or after an upcoming storm, get your Roof RX inspection. Here's the way I say it. Unknown roof condition equals unmitigated risk. That's for you as a consumer, property owner, and for your insurance carrier. So you start out by getting the truth on the roof, and this is not what some roofing salesperson tells you the truth on your roof is. This is the truth on the roof based on the data images annotated and assessed by deeply credentialed roof inspectors, okay? People who will tell you simply what the conditions on your roof are, what you need to do now, and your path forward. That's all that is. No one's trying to sell you anything. We're simply giving you the truth on the roof.
And so if you'd like to have that Roof RX inspection to get the truth on the roof, you can get online at roof-rx.com, or you can call 405-8774-ROOF.
So my writer for the website, he came up with, he calls it Truth, TROOF, the truth. Get the truth.
Truth on the roof.
So,
all right, gentlemen, in 1 minute we have left, what do you have to say for the good of the country?
Well, I'm just going to say pay attention to the insurance commissioner's race. Listen to what Mr. Meredith has to say. Take a look at the attorney general race, and be sure that you vote.
All right. Be sure and vote.
And I would just say this, this race isn't about passing laws. It's about running a complex system, making it work. If you want more politics, you got options. But if you want someone who's actually run the system and knows how to fix it, I'm ready. I'm ready day one.
All right. Scott, Dad's wisdom.
All right. Well, this is Ben Franklin and my daddy. Bitterness of poor quality lasts far longer than the sweetness of a low price.
Ain't that the truth? You've been listening to episode number 56 of McRoof Fortifies, Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. My thanks to Big JD for pushing knobs today and making the show run effortlessly. Thank you, Chris Meredith. Good luck on your campaign. Thank you, Scott McCullum.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Rick Allen Lippert. We'll be back next week.
Hats off to all of our weather teams throughout the state. Stay weather aware. Be safe, everybody.
KQOP Enid.